Teruan Saranai, Hondai. So if y'all have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Teruan Saranai Bhikkhuni Bodhicitta. This is the question that I have been wanting to ask you for some time, and especially after you touched on the topic of suicide. I was concerned about the fate of a person who commits suicide. So my concerns grew from that day onwards. So this actually relates to my mother, who passed away almost 30 years ago. So I'm looking up to you to see if there's any way of passing her merit, so that to relieve her of the situation that she's in right now. So at the time, I didn't know how to pass merit, but in her memory, I gave alms almost every week, and then it went on to every month of the day that she passed on. But she, Bhikkhuni, was not in a state of anger, but because she was left alone in her life for the first time without her kids when we left for studies, and her travel got delayed. So she went into a depression. So after about 3 months after my departure, she had got worse, and then she committed suicide. So I've heard that people who commit suicide die with a lot of anger, ill will, and a lot of hatred. But mother was not somebody like that. So she was very gentle, and she always put others' interest ahead of hers. So I hate to think that she had suffered a fate, and she's still stuck in a place that cannot receive any merits or good deeds from anybody. So my question is to see if there's any way we can pass merit to her, to relieve her, to come to a higher level. And she also did a lot of merits during her time, Bhikkhuni. So that's my question to you.
Okay, much merits. And so much merits for bringing it up with such courage and asking it and allowing us to record it, because you're not alone. There is so many who actually go through this with their loved ones. So to begin with, from your question, like how could we share the merits? It's like, well, with anyone who is departed, all we can do is we can do good meritorious deeds, thinking of them. If we were not thinking of them, we won't be doing it. So we think of them, and we think, I'm doing this because of them, and I want to share the merits with them. So they are linked in that act. We are sacrificing our money, our time, our energy, whatever that we are doing is because of them. So they are linked directly, because if it wasn't the cause, we won't be doing this. So to any departed relative, that's what we can do. I mean, that's what Buddha had really advised, like Bimbisara, King Bimbisara had a dream, and then Buddha said to him, well, it looks like there are some of your departed relatives. They're waiting to receive some merits. So Bimbisara Rajuru arranged meritorious deeds to be done. Especially he arranged dana on behalf of those relatives. He gave that dana. And then after that, shared the merits. And then it showed that it had helped them to elevate their suffering. So this is one of the ways that we really can help them, by doing a lot of high quality, high grade, meritorious deeds. So the high quality, high grade meritorious deeds can be performed when you take the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha into the picture. So you can, find out whatever they need, and then it's more meritorious when you offer things that already is in need. So then you offer it, and then from that we can share the merits. Also, when we choose who we are going to offer this to, even among the Sangha, you can, Buddha says, Pratigrahakayage Silaya Prajnava Ekat Balapano. How developed they are in their mind, in their purity, in their goodness and wisdom also has an effect. Because what we are doing here, we are supporting someone. So what they do affects. We are supporting, we are strengthening them. So if we are strengthening someone doesn't do much to the worldly, benefit, or even to the to the others, worldly benefit, or even to oneself and to the others in the spiritual sense for that advancement, we need to kind of calculate what are they doing. Like if you have a Nidhikumba plant and an apple tree, of course, with someone with a sound mind, they will use the fertilizer and the water and everything they have to support the apple tree, because they know the apple tree does more service to the world, that even one apple will keep the doctors away. So it's like that. But they have a choice to go and just, fertilize the Nidhikumba and then later go on and on and on about what it does. Or it can be a bit difficult to go and fertilize the apple tree, because you have to go and, make something like a ditch around it and then clear the weeds, and then you have to put it measuring, you have to put it right amount, otherwise it can burn. So it's not easy to support a good thing. But because we know that is good and it's good to support the good, we go through that and sacrifice, and then we go and do it. So then that good thing can have a good influence over others. It can do much better service to the world, to the others, to them. So when we choose, we need to find out if we can. In the sasana, there will be times where you will be able to serve the Buddha and all the eminent Sangha members. But now the Buddha is no longer in his physical body, but we have the Sangha. So you can choose the Sangha. And among the Sangha also, if there are Arahats, or even the Magapalalabhin, it's better. But if you can't find, well, you go with the Sangha as a symbol. And you do whatever that's needed at that time, you go and serve them and, support them, so they can flourish in their meditation, developing the goodness and wisdom, and spreading the Dhamma teachings to the four corners of the world. So they can do a lot of things. So more someone can do the service, more they can preach the pure Dhamma and reach many, and more they use that your support to develop the goodness and wisdom in them, and they transfer that to the others. So the others also can benefit and develop goodness and wisdom. So much better. So you need to kind of figure out. Otherwise, if you want to do something good, you can go and අර තියෙන මිනිස්සු ගිහලා බලු කපුටු දානක් දෙනවා. හැම සෙනසුරාදාටම කිරිබත් නූයලා කපුටන්ට කන්න දෙනවා. You can do a lot of things, but the wise have to choose it wisely. I think Maha Sangharatne Tamai the best, the field of merits. Api kiyana punya ketang anuttara pinketa. So you speak to the Maha Sangharatna, whoever is in touch with, and ask them, what can I do at this time? And especially I want to dedicate these merits to my mom. So can you please guide us? And when you give them the opportunity, they will say, yes, okay, let's do this, let's do that. And so you can share merits. And so there is many things you can do, like offering from the dana, from the roads, to the medicine, to the places, pansal, arama, or the building, the meditation halls, or whatever in that monastery in the vicinity. And also, there is a scale in that grade also. Buddha says it's meritorious to offer the dana to the there is a sutta, so I will go in the scale, so that also you can understand where you want to really go, depending on what you have and how much you want to spend on. So Buddha says it's good to feed an animal if they are in hunger, and you see a hungry animal and you want to feed them, it's good, it brings merit, because you are out of loving kindness, you're feeding that animal, and that brings merits. But Buddha says, if you find a man or a woman, a human being, is hungry and you have the opportunity to feed them, that is more better. That is a better act than the previous one. That brings more meritorious merits, because than the animal, the human being is more useful and they do more things to make the world a better place. Okay. Then Buddha says, but if you can find someone who is virtuous, silvat kenek, samanya, instead of just the normal one who even doesn't keep their 5 precepts and behaves in a way that it becomes a headache to the others and bring a lot of suffering. Dusilekta vada, if you find a silvat person, a virtuous person, that brings more merits. So then Buddha goes on to say, if you can find the renunciants, not just virtuous, but they are renunciants, that's much better, because they are now not acting selfishly, they are not trying to build things or try to, you know, gain things, so I, me, myself, and just for my people. Their concern is not that. They are developing the selflessness, so that is better. They do little harm to the world, and they do much service than the previous category. Okay. And then Buddha says, but if you can find from these renunciants, the best renunciants are the Mahasangharatna, the Buddha's children. Why? Because they have gone forth with understanding, with samyak drushti, so that they will never lead others into mithya drushti or to fruitless practices, but they themselves knows how to eradicate the suffering, and they will help others also to find freedom from suffering. So they do it with understanding, and their development of goodness and wisdom is, you know, they grow it exponentially, and they start their journey as a stream enterer, and they will end up as a full enlightened being like an arahant. So if you are born in a time, at a time where you can find the Buddha's children, that brings the most highest field of merits than even if you are only to serve the Buddha. Buddha says, than serving just an individual Buddha, if people can serve the Mahasangha, that brings much more infinite merits. You can't even measure it with words, because even the Buddha is included there. Mahasangharatna means even the Buddha is included there. Buddha Pramukha Mahasangha. So Buddha says that brings much more merits. And then Buddha says, if you find that the Mahasangharatna is in need of any, robes and things, offer that. If they are in need of kottamalli or like the medicinal requisites, they are sick, and you can at that time go and look after them and offer whatever needs to help them to overcome that sickness, that also brings a lot of merits. And more than those ones, Buddha says, if you can build a place for them to stay, like the arama or a kuti or a hut or whatever, so they can practice peacefully, so they don't have to worry about the snakes or the tigers or the heat and the cold and the snow. They can be protected from the weather, and also with these vicious animals, and also from thieves and all that, so they can be in a protected place. So Hissata Nivanak, Hittata Nivanak, Hissata Sevanak, Hittata Nivanak. So when you are under a shelter, you feel much more peaceful and comfortable, and you can focus and practice. So Buddha says, out of the 4 pirikara, the most beneficial one that you can reap a lot of merits is offering them the dwellings, and in a monastery, building monasteries, or even just building something in there, so it can be useful for their practice. So, and then Buddha says, so that is like in the offering part, where you can offer something easily. That's how the scale kind of goes up and up and up, and how the return gets more and more and more. Then Buddha says, if someone can practice, look within, and they understand the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, the value of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and they go to the refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha with understanding, that also brings a lot of merits into one's life, because that will help them to overcome the suffering once and for all. And then Buddha says, after going to the refuge of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, if someone can practice metta, if you can do it even in a split second like that, forget about being selfish and breeding this selfishness. You develop this selfless thought even for a moment. Sabbe sattha bhavantu sukhitata. That will bring a lot of merits, Buddha says. So the practice is important. And then Buddha says, that will purify the mind. But if someone can do the vipassana, if someone can moment to moment see in their experience anicca dukkha anatta, they can develop the anicca sanya, dukkha sanya, anatta sanya, that can bring enormous merits, because that is like the direct path to finding freedom from suffering. Why we want to do all these things is because we want to be comfortable. So the highest comfort comes from you practicing and realizing, developing your own goodness and wisdom. Then Buddha says, so this is how the scale goes. So what is the best thing to offer others that brings you infinite merits? The highest one is the sabbadhanam dhammadhanam jinati. So if you arrange many to listen to the Dhamma, for many to come into the Dhamma and listen to the Dhamma, so it will help them to wake them up, awaken and then go deep within and understand how the mind works and how the suffering comes and how you're inflicting suffering on others, and how to not to inflict suffering on others, how to be virtuous, how to control yourself, your emotions, and how to purify the mind, and then how to understand the reality, the things as they are, and then you find freedom from suffering. Then you can teach others, because the best medicine in the world is Dhamma. So Buddha says the best thing you can do in that worldly sense is share the Dhamma with others. And that will bring enormous infinite amounts of merits. So you can choose, pick and choose. So depending on your level of understanding and wisdom, I guess people choose, pick and choose, and then they do it. So that way we can share merits with our departed relatives. Okay, now, after having explained that to you, then the next part is being able to understand why people suicide. That's because they have not developed their mind. They have not developed their mind to the level where, that they can face the world. This is a classic example. She didn't have any other problems. She didn't have debts. She didn't have, these debtors coming behind her and, try to talk her saying, pay me, pay me, pay me, otherwise, no. And she didn't have any children who is facing cancer, or anyone going through a hard time, or anyone in the jail, or not that they didn't have money to have the food on the table, that she couldn't feed the children, nothing. So, but just simply because you can't handle the loneliness that came about. That's what I understood from that. So this is what happens when the mind is not stabilized, when the mind is not developed, when the mind is not fed with the proper food. We all the time feed the food, all the good food to the body, but we never pay attention to the mind. So we haven't given any good food. So our mind is malnutritioned. So when the mind is malnutrition, it gets sick. Like if the body is malnutrition, it gets sick. Panduwa hadila, then mole also gets damaged, and you can't do much after that. Like that, if we don't feed the mind with good food, that's it. We can't do much. It's very weak. So even if someone comes and just blames you for something that you haven't done, you will feel like, I don't want to live anymore. And today you can see this in children. Apparently, a lot of the children, youth suicides are due to this internet-related things. They haven't seen this person before. It was just a tweet, or just on the Facebook, or just a comment, and they don't like it. They can't take it. They think it's better to kill myself. I don't want to face this. So they prefer not facing. So they kill themselves. So that's how fragile their mind is now. Not just the children, even the adults. They can't face. So what Buddha pointed out is the best thing a human being could do is strengthen their mind to the level where they should be able to face the world, all vicissitudes of life, with peace. Puttassa loka dhammehi chittang yassana kampati asokang virajanke mangetam mangala muttama nibbana satchikiriyacha. This is what the nibbana is about. The mind, the mind that is tasting the nibbana, the mind that is non-shaking. Non-shaking in the midst of what? Labha alabha, the gain and the loss. Ninda prasansa, the praise and the blame. Yasayas, the fame and the ill fame. Sapaduka, the happiness and the sadness or the suffering. So normally people only like to have what they like all the time, to get the profits, all the time to gain things, all the time to get praise, all the time to be famous, all the time to be happy. But no, it's not possible. Not possible. And it's not us who decide what we get the result, what we face. It's not us. There are so many causes and conditions that decides what we have to face, what we will get. Depending on your education, depending on your family, depending on your society, depending on the people who you associate with closely, and many things that conditions this. So depending on where you are at that moment, the right place, wrong place, what type of things you talk, right thing, right words, wrong words, and are you with the right people or the wrong people? Are you with the Satpurushas, Asatpurushas, with Bale, or things like that? So many things become the deciding factor of what we will be facing. It's not in our control. So we need to understand that if we are not in control of picking and choosing these things, you can try as much as you want. But when you really realize this, it'll help you to wake up, because this is not in our control. This Ashtaloka Dharma. So all we have to do is face it. Then the first thing the wise people will do is strengthen their mind so they can face this. It's like, we have to go and erect these electricity poles, because we must. If you want to have electricity, you have to have a pole that is going to take the electricity wires. And we know time to time the tornado comes and the cyclone comes, a strong wind comes in different degrees. So we can't hide, we cannot not have it. So they prepare for that. So when they put these electricity poles, they drill, so deep to the underground, and they get the strongest wood or the iron, and they put them up there. So normally when you have a small wind or just even a strong wind, they are not shaken. A lot of the time they even survive all the cyclones and things, depending on how much care you took when you did this job. So in ancient time, at the city gate, in a kingdom, at the city gate, they have something called Indrakila. That is where they put their country flag, that particular king's flag. So Indrakila is like a post like this. It's made of stones, kalugal, the most strongest one. And if they are planning to put it up like 20 feet up high, apparently they dig 20 feet down. So half of the pole is buried underground, half is standing up. So Chatubbi Vatehi Asampakampiyo. No tornado can shake it. So this is how they are showing the strength of that city, strength of that government, strength of that king. Even the tornado can't move that Indrakila. That's why it's called Indrakila. So it stands strong in the midst of all vicissitudes. So in the same way, that's how we should train our mind to be. If you do that, well, it'll face everything, all the adverse, all these vicissitudes with imperturbable serenity. It is this imperturbable serenity is called the Nibbana. So wise people know this is the first thing I must do. This is the first thing I must help my children to come. Because as we see in the world now, things are getting worse and worse and worse. More negativity is breeding, more emotions are breeding at display, and more people are behaving in the very erratic way, no rational thinking, but it's all these emotional behaviors. No one cares about the other. So just so many things are going on and on, destructive things and unpleasant things. And we always have to face these undesired things. So then the first thing we must have is a strong mind. This is the need of this era. So instead of we developing our mind, we develop anything and everything. The body, starting from the body, we pay so much attention to the body. We develop houses, not just houses, mansions, not even the mansion is not enough. Then we build, palaces, and we build so many things. We will take care, and we'll do it until the deathbed. Until we shed our last breath, we keep on doing things, building things, but not the mind. This is where we go wrong. So easily, any slight wind can shook us and can throw us far away to the mental hospital, or even to the other side of the world. Even we can, go to the other part of the world, not paralavatat yanna puluwan. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ, so this weak mind, it can blow you off. So the first thing we have to do is pay attention and feed the mind and develop the mind, build the mind. Then whether you have other things or not doesn't matter really, because everything is in the mind, the happiness and unhappiness. What we experience is through the mind. So if we have happiness in the mind, when you develop the mind, when you have a strong mind, you are happy. So when you are happy, whether you have external things or not, whether you have material things or not, whether you have others around you or not, doesn't matter. You're happy. So that's the first thing we have to do. So accept that, we do everything else. That's the most unfortunate thing. This is called the mithya drushtiya. So this is the first thing we have to do. We have to do this for ourselves, strengthen the mind, and we need to teach others also. Teaching others is called the spreading the Dhamma. Dhamma is all about how to strengthen your mind, so you can face the world. So when you don't have this training, what happens? Innocent people who are not aggressive, they just cry inside and no one sees it. So your heart is weeping, bleeding, no one sees, so they're so sad, depression, and then they think not harming others, but because they are so sad and they can't bear it, they will kill themselves, they will take their own life. And the other type is the aggressive type. When we have this weak mind, in the weak mind, what is more rajakarane, what is more prominent in the mind is the kama vitarka, vyapada vitarka, hinsa vitarka. Kama vitarka, the wanting, the pleasing the senses, then it goes into the, when you can't get what you want, it goes into ill thoughts, or when you can't maintain what you have the way you want, the ill thought comes. Or because you're only expecting the comfort and the good side and the happiness, when the unhappy feelings come, when the unpleasant feelings come, then the ill thoughts come. So, yam picchanna labati tampi dukkhaṃ, piya vipayogo dukkho, appiya sampayogo dukkho. All this is dukkha. Dukkha means it's the friction. So when these things, when we have to face these things, so there's friction. So the ill thoughts come. So if you're not careful about these ill thoughts, then it will lead to cruel thoughts. In these cruel thoughts, hinsa vitarka, the hinsa vitarka work towards either oneself or to the others, inside or to outside, inward or outward. This is being recognized in today's psychology. It's called the masochism and schadenfreude. So when you have this hinsa vitarka, these thoughts of cruelty brewing in here, some will think of harming others, hurting others, and finding a kick from that, finding joy in that, happiness in that. So we go to watch the boxing, the wrestling, the cockfights, and you say these practical jokes, and you watch other people getting into difficult situation, and you smile, laugh your head off with some people together. while seeing the others are going through a hard time and things like that. So there is a cruel way of finding this pleasure. And the other side is you express it to inward. Some people will not do it to others. That will be expressed towards yourself. So they will take the cigarette and burn themselves. They will take a knife and cut themselves and watch them till they die with bleeding. And that is joy for them. And some will take a rope and go and tie their neck and hang up. So whatever the way, how the mind works, they will hurt themselves. That's what they do. So this hinsa vitarka, well, if you know the person, you can predict where it will go, whether it's a suicide or a homicide, or what will happen, or whether it's harming here or harming there. Violent people, a lot of the time, they will harm others. So violent people, it's easy to detect. But if someone's this sadness, this frustration, things are directed towards themselves, very difficult to detect for the others. This is what happened, I guess, in this case. Anyway, so why we have come to this state is because we have not taken care of our mind. We always wanted to have things the way we want. All the time, the karma vitarka, we want to have what we want. So I want to control my house, I want to control my office, I want to control the village, I want to control the country, I want to control anything and everything that is in my influence range. The minute I can't get my wish done, the minute I can't control, I will go cuckoo. So this is what's happening there, because you're always only about thinking how to get what you want, and you only find happiness from, by getting and doing what you want. You have not considered about the other side, that there will be things out of control. We cannot always control this. We can't get what we want all the time. We can't associate with the people all the time who we want to associate with. We cannot avoid associating with who we don't want to. Piya vipayogo dukkho, apya sampayogo dukkho, yam piccannalabadita. That's not being given attention. Now, everything has to go my way. So the minute that I can't get what I want, that's it. The ill thoughts will breed. It will go to the cruel thoughts. So this is the message. Now people need to learn that we just can't get addicted to this type of behavior where we just expect the things to go the way we want to. It's not going to happen. So we have to be able to face things. We need to learn how to face the like and the dislike the same way. The pleasant and the unpleasant the same way. So we are not shaken. We don't jump up and down when we get things what we want, and we don't go and bury our head down when we have to face the things we don't want to face. What's the point? It's like a roller coaster ride. You need to get off from this ride, and you want to stabilize yourself and face. And life is all about solving problems. When do we have with no problems? When do we have in a time there's lapse? There is no problem. No, all the time there is something going on. If there is nothing, something is cooking, something is already on the way. So don't worry, wait. It's like that. Life is like that. So we need to understand this, and we need to learn to face this. So we have to develop our mind, and we need to teach our children, and also we need to teach everyone else. But we can't go and knock on the door and say, I come to save you, I come to save you. Like some people do on Sundays and go and knock on everyone's doors and say, I come to save you. Well, the Buddhist way is the gentle way. We don't go and confront it that way. We practice it. When we are stable, others see that, they come and ask. Or we simply give our presence. In the street, we go and beg for our food, go on the alms round. And when people see you, they will ask, be friends. What are you doing? Oh, I don't do anything. I don't work. Then what do you do? Well, I practice to get rid of my selfishness. Oh, how do you do it? You teach. So what I do is I teach. So then people will give their ears. So who is prepared to listen? You teach them. That is the Sangha members' duty, that they practice, they live by example, and their inspiration will lead others to inquire. And that will pave the path for them also to follow this person, follow this Dhamma. That's what Buddha said. So that's what we are doing. So it's your responsibility to live like an example, and then be an example to your children and to the people who are in your influence range, and spread the Dhamma the way you can. Because it is this Dhamma that shows them as how to live a good life, how to face the world. So we can take both ends in the same way, peacefully, with a tranquil mind, serene mind. And when things go wrong, you know, sometimes the things that we have to face, my God, only God knows. But, you know, sometimes people don't realize we have problems. Why? Because the way we handle it, they think, oh, monks and nuns, they don't have problems. No, we have more than the family. Families, they only have the problems with the husband and the wife and the children, and if they have extended family, the parents and aunties and uncles, that's all. The members of the Sangha, they have to deal with the committee, they have to deal with the devotees, they have to deal with the people who do the constructions, the workers, the society, and the known, the unknown, and with many. It's like having, sometimes I feel like having 100 children, having 100 parents, having 100 husbands, wives. Like, but you all only one little tiny family. The Sangha members, they had to manage. They are like also like, in a way, running a country might be easier sometimes than running a center. And so they also have to face problems. The Buddha, how much problems Buddha had to face, you know? So even no matter what we do, out of this so much of purity, genuineness, with everything, but you still get the blame. You still get becoming famous. You still get all rubbish. And you have to face that also very happily. So that's the life. So that's what the practice is all about. So that's what you all have to learn. That's how it is, because no one is exempted from this. Not even the Buddha, not even the Mahasangha, no one. So everyone has to face this. So strengthen your mind and how to do it. That is the Dhamma, the instructions, guidance. What's in the Dhamma? Dhamma is that. So do it and live by example and show it to the others, so we can prevent the person who is going to suicide tomorrow. Now, whoever has suicided, we can't do much now. But we can do it for the one who is getting prepared to do it. We can prevent that if we work hard. So we need to pay attention to us, stabilize yourself first, understand this, and within our influential range, we can do it. And if you can't reach, then you help someone who can reach, who does that. So you give them the strength and the support, so they go and do the job on behalf of you. Because you don't have the time, you don't have the skill, you don't know, but you appreciate this. So you get behind them and you support them, and they go and do the job. That's what Buddha said. Why Buddha said to support the Sangha. So the lay people, upasak, upasikas, they don't have time, they don't know the skill, they are not there yet. Well, you support the Mahasangha, they will do it. So let's focus on the ones who are in the line, so we can help them to prevent. So when you do that, so many people will find relief, because like I was listening to you all, I think before the record, it's not just about the victim, it's about also the people who become a victim after this event. because the people, they only think about themselves and they don't see the consequences in that disturbed mind. They just do it. And here I'm counseling few young families who are left with, 10-year-old daughters, 10-year-old sons, and few families, young, they're gone in 40s, 50s. So the young family and the horror that they have to bear, they go into the toilet, they see someone hanging up there. They go into the garage to the car, someone is gassed in the car, in the Benz. And so like that, these people, when they are in that clouded mind, they don't think about the people who they leave behind. So those people have to go through hell, they are so traumatized, especially the children. So, so it's lifelong counseling. They just have to get their head around and they have to face it. So this suicide is not just about one person, actually. It affects many, 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 many. Their family, the friends, the relatives, even the neighbors, so the office, if they were working in office, work environment, it's that village. But they can't see this, they just do it. So there is two ends to this, the person who is doing it and everyone else who have to face it. So in order to, make both parties comfortable, first thing we need to work hard to prevent. So the pain that you have, and so we work hard so no one else will have to go through that pain. So that's the best we can do. We can offer that to the world. Like in the tsunami, I was telling people, a lot of people lost their children. So they're going on and on and on about mourning about they have lost the children. And I told them there is so many kids who have lost their parents and who are now in, not with parents, but in these orphanages. They don't have parents. Why are you going on and on about your child's loss? Why don't you go and adopt one? And help another living being and make them your son and the daughter. This is what we call the metta, the maitri. So we have to broaden our heart, not just about go on and on and on about I, me, myself and my problem. We need to think to reach out to others, seeing everyone else also going through this way or that way, or whichever the form, everyone has suffering. So let's reach out, let's help others also in the same situation. So that way, when we reach our hands to others and we in the same situation, we can do a lot, because now we know the pain, and it is from that we generate the loving kindness and compassion, and without expecting anything back in return, we help others now to prevent the suicide and also to care for the rest of the people who would have got affected from that. And also we can help the people who are already affected, like someone like in my position, there is many. So we help them also by helping them to listen to the Dhamma, and so they also can make up their mind. And best thing is that we strengthen our mind so no one does this thing to anyone, not to oneself, not even to another. So please take care of your mind. Only if someone can take care of your mind, you can really take care of others. If we can't take care of ourselves, we can't really genuinely take care of others. So first thing is put mask on your face first, and then only you should attend to your child to put the pressure mask on if the flight is going down. So it's the same theory. First, we need to look after ourselves and our mind and understand this and practice, and let's help others also to strengthen their mind so we can solve this problem once and for all. Okay. So much merits for giving me the opportunity to share this with you all. So hopefully you all benefited, and let's hope then people who listen also will benefit and they will understand they are not alone, and we need to do something. There is a lot to be done. So this is about education. educating them about purifying their mind, feeding the mind, giving nutritious food. Nutritious food is you starving your mind from that negative thoughts, unwholesome thoughts, getting rid of them. And you only develop the thoughts of renouncing, thoughts of unconditional loving kindness, thoughts of compassion. Nekkhamma vitarka, avyapada vitarka, avihimsa vitarka, the thoughts of the opposite of what we spoke before. It's the other vitarkas, they make you more and more to be selfish. But the opposite of this makes us to be selfless. And that's what makes the mind strong, to be selfless. When we do that, our mind gets pure. And when the mind is pure, it has strength and it has clarity. So it can face the world, and it can help others also to face the world. So let us live in the present moment, not in the past. Whatever has happened in the past, we can't reverse. So don't get hold on to the past. If you had to face something like this, you need to understand, for whatever the reason that has happened. So now we have to make sure that it will not happen to me, it will not happen to my child, it will not happen to another's child, it will not happen to another person. So let's work hard so others can live a good quality life, comfortable life with peace of mind and happiness. So let's live our life so we can help others. So live in the present moment, not in the past, not in the future, but in here and now, and purify the mind. And out of compassion, let's do what we can do to help others. So when you're in the present moment, you get the best, because you can see what needs to be done and what you can do in your capacity. So
Bhikkhuni Bodhicitta, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much. There is still a little residual question. Is there time to ask? Bhikkhuni, here the problem, there is a recurring problem. The memory is coming up. And every time the memory comes up for the person, who has been affected by this action, there is a need to do something about it for that person. For the thought is, I have to create merit and share with the departed one to elevate that person from that suffering state. Now, is this something doable? I know you said a lot about creating good merit, but how do we transfer this? Is there transfer actually? Does it happen?
That I can't tell you. It all depends on the person, what type of a mindset they had at that moment, and how deeply they were affected, how deeply there was hatred, how bad was the hatred, how much sadness was there, and depending on the state of the mind, and so where they are born now. So Buddha says if someone is born in a Paridaddupajivi level, they can access these merits because they are still among us, watching us, they can see us, they can hear us. So every time when we do things and all that, they can see and they can, share that merits. So it depends on where they are born. That, of course, I can't tell you. In the suicide, I also find there is suicides with a lot of vicious thoughts being bred, and they do it. And there is incidences like accidents, not much planning, but I guess they didn't know what they're doing and things like that. So depending on the degree of their chetana will depend on where they are. And depending on where they are, it depends how we can help. So the best thing is anyway, unless you have meditated, then you can see and communicate. If you don't have that knowledge, well, it's always good to think, well, we know, one thing we know is they need help. So we continue to help. So that will make us feel good. And if they are in a position to accept those merits, they can accept, and it will definitely help them to elevate from that state. step by step, step by step. So that's the best thing to do. We can turn off the record now. And so thank you so much.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhikshuni Mahansa.